They say envy is like fire. It starts small, but if left unchecked, it burns everything in its path. Sakinat never thought of herself as an envious woman. She had a husband who loved her, Yunusa, and a little boy who brought joy into their home. They lived in a modest house, nothing fancy, but it was filled with laughter and peace, or at least it used to be. Everything began to change when her closest friend Munirat entered her life more deeply. Munirat was married to a wealthy businessman, Alhaji Belo. He had money, cars, houses, and spent generously on his wife. Wherever Munirat went, she carried expensive bags, wore fine jewelry, and often drove the latest car. To everyone else, she seemed like the luckiest woman alive. And whenever the two women went out together, Munirat would never buy for herself alone. She always bought something for Sakinat too. A little perfume, a scarf, sometimes even a handbag. At first, it felt like kindness, but slowly it became poison in Sakinat's heart. She began to compare. She began to admire. She began to wish her life looked like her friends. What she didn't know was that behind Munirat's smile was a broken woman. Alhaji Belo did not truly love her. His heart belonged to another woman, his late wife. Munirat was only married to him because his parents had insisted. And though he provided for her, he never gave her his affection. She was lonely, ignored, and secretly bitter. But whenever she stood beside Sakinat, she pretended everything was perfect. That pretense was the spark that changed everything. On Sakinat's birthday, Yunusa bought her a simple gift, a fine piece of material. He gave it to her with love, smiling proudly as he handed it over. But when she opened it, disappointment spread across her face. It wasn't what she had expected. It wasn't what she wanted. And without thinking, she snapped at him, storming out of the room. Later that evening, her friend Munirat arrived with a designer bag and a bottle of expensive perfume. Sakinat's eyes lit up immediately. She hugged her friend tightly, smiling like a child. But as she inhaled the sweet fragrance, a bitter thought grew in her mind. Why is my friend's life so much better than mine? Why am I the one left behind? That night, Yunusa sat on the dining table, breathing gently with his wife. "My love," he said softly, "I do my best. I'm only a civil servant. I depend on my salary. I wish I could give you the whole world, but this is what I can afford." But Sakinat was no longer listening. He had already begun to dream of another life, a richer life, a shinier life, and a life like Munirat's. That day forward, things changed between Yunusa and Sakinat. She spent more time on her phone, scrolling through pictures of luxury bags, big houses, and exotic places she had never seen. Every time she looked at those images, frustration grew inside her, and every time she went out with Munirat, she returned home with new stories about the rich life her friend enjoyed. One evening, as Yunusa returned home from work, he found his wife sitting quietly, staring at her phone. "Sakinat," he said gently, "why are you always comparing us with others? Have I not been good to you? Have I not given you peace?" But instead of answering his question, she spoke with a voice heavy with discontent. "I want to travel abroad, Yunusa. I'm tired of staying in this house. Every time Munirat comes back from a trip, she tells me stories of different countries. Why can't I experience the same?" Yunusa sighed. "My wife, I don't have that kind of money. I'm not Alhaji Belo. I'm a civil servant. Please understand." But Sakinat was no longer satisfied with understanding. She wanted more. Not long after, she came up with an idea. She knew her husband had always dreamed of starting a farm business, but he didn't have enough money to begin. So she went to her friend Munirat and said, "My sister, please help me. Talk to your husband Alhaji Belo. Let me invest in my husband's business. If Yunusa succeeds, maybe your life will change too." But Munirat's smile froze. She could not confess the truth that Alhaji Belo did not listen to her, did not care about her opinions. Still, she nodded weakly and said, "I will try." Sakinat did not stop there. She also approached Yunusa directly. "Go and speak with Alhaji Belo yourself," she insisted. "He can help you. He's rich. What are you afraid of?" But Yunusa shook his head. "I've heard stories about that man. If he invests in someone's business, he takes the bigger share and controls everything. I don't want that." "Forget what people say," Sakinat snapped. "At least try. What's the worst that can happen?" After many days of pressure, Yunusa gave in. He arranged a meeting with Alhaji Belo. To his surprise, Alhaji Belo was open to the idea. They discussed the farm business, and Yunusa explained his plans in detail. When he returned home, he was tired but hopeful. Sakinat welcomed him with her best meal, smiling proudly for the first time in weeks. For a moment, their marriage felt alive again. But the deal came at a heavy price. When Yunusa met Alhaji Belo again, the wealthy businessman agreed to invest, but with a shocking condition. "I will put my money in," Alhaji Belo said, "but I want 60% of the business. That means I will own more than you. Do you agree?" Yunusa's heart sank. He knew it was dangerous. He knew it meant giving away his dream, but he also knew his wife's happiness depended on it. After a long silence, he whispered, "I agree." And so the partnership began. One evening, Yunusa returned home with unusual excitement. "Alhaji Belo wants to visit us for dinner," he told Sakinat. "Please prepare your best meal. Let him see that my wife is a good woman." Sakinat's eyes brightened. She threw herself into the kitchen, cooking like she had never cooked before. She even asked her younger sister to taste the food. When her sister smiled and said it was delicious, Sakinat's heart swelled with pride. That night, Alhaji Belo arrived at their home. He sat at the dining table, tasted the meal and smiled with satisfaction. "Who cooked this?" he asked. "My wife," Yunusa said proudly. Alhaji Belo nodded slowly. "It's the best food I've tasted in a long time." After dinner, he excused himself to use the bathroom. Yunusa, without thinking, called Sakinat. "My wife, please show him the way." As they walked back from the hallway, Alhaji Belo leaned closer to her. His voice was low, his eyes sharp. "You're a wonderful cook," he said. "I would like to taste this again, but in my house." Before she could respond, he slipped a small card into her hand. "Don't decide now, and don't tell anyone." That night, Sakinat lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Her heart was pounding. She knew what this meant. She knew it was wrong, but she also knew it was tempting. The following days were restless for Sakinat. She kept Alhaji Belo's card hidden inside her drawer, but her eyes always found it. The thought of stepping into his world, the world of wealth, cars, perfumes and jewels, made her heart beat faster. At first, she resisted. She told herself she was a married woman. She told herself that Yunusa loved her and that she should be content. But every time she saw Munirat with her expensive gifts, every time she scrolled through her phone and admired other women living in luxury, her resolve weakened. Finally, one afternoon, she picked up the phone and dialed the number. Alhaji Belo answered with a calm voice, as though he had been waiting. "I knew you would call," he said. "Come to my private house tomorrow. No one will know." And so it began. Sakinat started visiting him in secret. She lied to Yunusa, telling him she was meeting friends or running errands. But her younger sister noticed. "You don't usually go out this often," her sister said one day. "Where are you always going?" Sakinat grew angry. "Mind your business. Don't you dare ask me such questions again. Do you want my husband to hear you and suspect me? Just focus on your studies." Her sister kept quiet, but she knew something was wrong. Meanwhile, Yunusa's farm business was growing. He spent more time in the village working on the land, supervising workers and learning the trade. It was far from the city, and traveling back and forth was exhausting. One day, he returned home and told Sakinat his plan. "My wife, this business is demanding. I can't keep going and coming. I'm thinking of moving to the village. We can all go together. And once the business is stable, we can buy another house in the city." But Sakinat's face hardened. "What? Leave the city? Move to the village? I'm not a farmer, Yunusa. I can't live that kind of life." Yunusa tried to reason with her, but she refused. Still, he said gently, "When I return from the next trip, we will all go together. Think about it." When Yunusa left again, Sakinat went to see Alhaji Belo. She sat in his house looking moody and disturbed. "What's wrong, my dear?" Alhaji Belo asked. "Do you need money?" "No," she said quietly. "Yunusa wants us to move to the village. He wants me to leave the city, to live on the farm. I can't do it." Alhaji Belo leaned closer, his voice soft and dangerous. "Since I met you, you remind me of my late wife Aisha. You are strong, beautiful and full of life, just like my late wife Aisha. I want to marry you." Sakinat's eyes widened. "But I'm Yunusa's wife and you're already married." "There is always a way," he whispered. Then he leaned closer and said words that made her blood run cold. "Either you divorce Yunusa or you help me get rid of him." Sakinat jumped to her feet. "No, I can't do that." "Divorce? Mother? What will people say?" But Alhaji Belo was calm. "If you divorce him, tongues will wag. If you poison him, no one will ever know. I will even give you the poison myself. It will be my responsibility, not yours." At first she refused. She said no. She said it again and again. But his words lingered in her mind. When Yunusa returned from the village, she cooked for him. She held the poison in her hand, trembling, sweating, unable to open it. She placed the food on the table and stepped away. Just then, her friend Munirat walked in unexpectedly. My sister Sakinat said with a forced chair, "Come join us." Munirat sat on the dining table. As they chatted, Sakinat stepped into the kitchen to fetch water. She didn't see what happened next. Munirat was, with quiet hands, reached into her bag, pulled out a small packet, and slipped something into the food. Her eyes were burning with anger. She had discovered the affair between her husband, Alhaji Belo, and her friend Sakinat. She wanted revenge, but her revenge was meant for Sakinat, not Yunusa. After a few minutes, Munirat stood up. "I only came to greet you," she said. "I have to go now." Sakinat walked her to the door, unaware of what had just happened. At that very moment, Yunusa returned from his trip. He was tired and hungry. "My wife," he said, "I'm starving. Is the food ready?" "Yes, my love." "Sit at the dining table. I'll bring it now." By the time she returned with water, Yunusa had already started eating. He smiled at her, chewing happily, but suddenly his smile faded. His hands began to shake. His breathing grew heavy. Then before her eyes, he collapsed to the ground. "Yunusa! Yunusa!" she screamed, rushing to him, but it was too late. Her husband was gone. There was one filled with laughter, now echoed with cries of sorrow. Yunusa was gone. His lifeless body was buried the next day. Her mourners filled the compound. Sakinat wept loudly, but inside, fear was eating her alive. She knew about the poison Alhaji Belo had given her, and she feared someone would discover it. Days after the burial, a new figure walked into the compound, Yunusa's twin brother. He looked so much like Yunusa that Sakinat gasped the first time she saw him. But his face was not gentle like her husband's. His eyes were sharp, full of questions, full of suspicion. He came with the police. "I want to know what killed my brother," he said firmly. This was not an ordinary death. The investigation began. One by one, everyone was interrogated. Sakinat, the grieving wife, her younger sister, the quiet observer, Munirat, the loyal friend, or so she pretended, Yunusa's business partner, Alhaji Belo, the wealthy man with so much power. The police found nothing obvious at first, but suspicion kept circling back to Sakinat. She had been seen going out often. People whispered that she was no longer close to her husband before his death. And then the shocking rumor that she was having an affair with Alhaji Belo. Finally, the police arrested her. In the interrogation room, Sakinat broke down in tears. "Yes," she cried. "Yes, I wanted to kill him, but I couldn't. I swear I couldn't do it." From her bag, she pulled out the small bottle of poison that Alhaji Belo had given her. It was still sealed, untouched. "I thought about it, but I couldn't open it. I couldn't go through with it." The police officer frowned. "Then how did Yunusa die?" "He ate your food." Sakinat lowered her head. "Because I was blinded by greed. Because I betrayed him with another man. But I know who killed Yunusa." The officer leaned forward. "Who?" With trembling lips, she whispered, "Munirat." The next day, the police returned for Munirat. She shouted, cried, and tried to defend herself. "Why are you arresting me again? I am innocent." But under pressure, her mask fell. She burst into tears and confessed, "I didn't mean to kill Yunusa. I only wanted to kill Sakinat. She betrayed me. She slept with my husband, Alhaji Belo. I put poison in the food because it was meant for her. I never thought Yunusa would eat it first." The room fell silent. The betrayer had come full circle. A friend who poisoned another friend, but the victim turned out to be the innocent man caught in between. Munirat was arrested, charged for the murder of Yunusa. Sakinat was left heartbroken, guilty of betrayal, but innocent of the crime that took her husband's life. And as the dust settled, one haunting question remained. If you were in Munirat's place, would you have confessed the truth even if it meant losing everything, or would you have kept silent and let your friend take the blame? Thank you for watching. See you in my next video.